Hello. Before we start the video, I'd like to tell you that I shall be referring to the cards as their box number, set number and their actual name, for ease of searching the cards and avoid confusion. As an example, I shall be referring to the card on the screen as BT5007 Agumon. Let's head into the video. As a complement to the previous video, the tutorial on deck building, I'm going to tell you about the restricted card list and errata cards. Let's start with the restricted card list. As we've learned in the previous video, you can have 4 copies of the same ID, like this BT5007 Agumon, but oftentimes Bandai will print cards that are too strong without even knowing they're too strong. And oftentimes players get so creative they'll find out ways of creating an incredibly strong combination of cards. After all, we live in an era where access to information is easier and broader, so the likelihood of someone coming up with an incredibly broken combination is high. Card game manufacturers have come with ways to balance the game without releasing new cards. Just like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon card game has a list in which is written every card that is either restricted or banned. These names are straightforward and self-explanatory. Restricted cards are cards restricted to a number below 4, and Bandai will declare the new limit for these cards. Let's take the example of the BT2047 Agumon. This card is restricted to 1 copy per deck. But Bandai can declare a restriction of 2 or 3 cards per deck. Banned cards are cards that you're strictly forbidden to use in your deck. Any card can enter or leave the restriction list at any moment because the purpose of the restriction list is to moderate the current cards in the game. Bandai and other card manufacturers will keep expanding their games, and with that newer, stronger cards will be printed. At that moment it could make sense to either remove a card from the list because another card makes it less strong, or it could make sense to add new cards to the list because they weren't planned with future cards and combinations in mind. As of recording this video, only 2 cards find themselves restricted to 1 copy each, and no card is currently banned. These cards are the BT2047 Agumon and the BT3103 Hidden Potential Discovered. I will not create updated videos of the restricted list. This was just an example of the list being in use. Let's talk about errata cards. An errata is an error found in printed work. In card games, will often mean changing the card's text because the effect needs clarification after being translated. Digimon card game is a primarily Japanese game. As you can guess, many things can get lost in translation, so it's of Bandai's best interest to keep these effects clearly translated for the Western audience. Misprints. Cards can come with orthographic mistakes before the cards are printed in industrial machines. They're still written and designed by another human being. Such errors can happen, although it's rare seeing as these products are heavily proofread. Bandai can also release an errata for a card for the purpose of balancing it. The restriction list isn't the only way of moderating the game, but sometimes an errata won't be enough to balance a card, so restricting its amount or straight out banning it is the solution. This can also provide time for the manufacturer to come up with new balancing ideas without changing the card too much. So, I have a card that suffered an errata. Do I need to purchase new booster packs or purchase new singular cards to replace my misprints? The answer is no. As long as you check the errata list regularly and play the game with the altered texts in mind, you can still play with your pre-errata cards. In summary, Bandai can and will restrict the number of cards players can use per deck to uphold game balance. Bandai also can and will move cards out of and into the list as it sees fit, so that the list matches the current needs of the game. Bandai will also reprint cards with updated texts because they were either misprinted, not clear enough, or to uphold game balance. You do not need to replace your old card for a card with the updated text as long as you play the old card the same way you would the new card. The links for both of these lists can be found in the description down below. If you think you could use more information or that this video format wasn't satisfying enough, I strongly recommend downloading the tutorial app for your smartphone, available on both Android and iOS. Or you could check out Bandai's official rulebook. Links down in the description below. Thanks for watching.
Are you sure about that?